Hey there, my name is Kelly Dale and I'm owner of Off the Beaded Path in Forest City, North Carolina. For today's video, I'm going to be showing you how to make a beautiful pillow top ring. Now I'm going to be doing two versions of this ring. This week I'll be showing you how to do a single needle base for the ring, and then on next week's video I'll be doing the same thing, just I'll be showing you a double needle technique. I've had a lot of you guys asking for some more right angle weave, so this one is for you guys. So go ahead and get your table set up and I'll give you your material list. Now for your materials, you are going to need some 4mm rounds. These are just check fire polish rounds. You're going to need 24 of those. You're going to need, your top of your ring consists of 9 boxes, and each box consists of 4 crystals. Now this is the fun thing about the ring, because you can do the ring, every box in a different color. You can do 2 colors. You can do as many colors on the ring top as you want, completely up to you. Today I'm going to do just a quick little 2-color one in this pattern. And then you're also going to need a few size 11 seed beads. And as I said, I'm going to teach you how to do a single needle right angle weave for the base, which we're just going to be using this. Now you will need 2 needles though, because for the top I always like to do 2 needles, because to me it's so much easier when you get ready to add all your crystals. So that's the thing with that. You can do as you please, but that's what I like to do. I'm going to be using a 6-pound the crystal clear fire line with my size 10 needle attached. And the first thing I'm going to do for my very first box is I'm going to pick up 4 round beads. I'm going to drop the beads down near my tail, and I'm only going to leave a very short tail here. And from the tail, I'm going to come back through all 4 of those round beads again. And I'll pull. Now I'm hanging onto the tail here. Now when you pull, if you pull straight out like this, you're going to have a big gap. What you want to do is pull the tail and the working thread together like this so that you have a circle. And then I'll tie the tail and the working thread together. And I normally put just a couple of good knots in here. Now, what I'll do is take the needle and I will come through 1 bead right next to the knot. Each box will consist of 4 beads. 1, 2, 3, 4. I'm ready to add my next box, and my next box will always connect to the box right before it. So this will be considered bead 1 of my next box. So I have 1. Each box consists of 4, so I need to pick up 3 more beads. My tail is coming out this way here, so I've got to make a circle. So I'm going to take my needle and I'm going to come back through this same bead I'm coming out of so that I make a circle. So when I pull, I now have 2 circles. Now I need to get into position for my next circle, so I need to be coming out over here. So I'm going to take the needle and I'm going to come through this top bead and then this second bead. So I'm going to come through the first 2 beads threaded on of my new box, and I'm keeping a fairly tight tension on my box here. Okay, again, 3rd box, I've got 1 bead here, so that's bead 1. I need 3 more beads for my box. So 1, 2, and 3. My thread is coming out this way here. So when I pick up my 3 beads, I'm going to take my needle and I'm going to come back through that same bead I'm coming out of to make a circle. So when I pull it, now I have 3 boxes. Your base for this ring consists of 9 boxes. So you'll have 3 rows of 3. So we're ready to go to the next row. So I need to be coming out up here at this top bead. So to do that, I'm simply going to come through the 3 beads that I just added. And as you can see, I keep my fingers, as I pull, I keep my fingers on those beads so that way it helps to tighten them up. And always pull the way the thread is coming out of the bead. Okay, ready to do box number 4. I have 1 bead here. Each box consists of 3, so I need to pick up 3 more beads. I'm sorry, each box consists of 4, so I need to pick up 3 more beads. The thread is exiting out towards the beadwork here. So I'm going to take my needle and I'm going to come back through that same bead again to make a circle. Now, to get into position for my next box, I need to come through this 1 bead right here. So the first bead that I added. Now, as I've always said, your box will consist of 4 beads. I have a box here and a box here that it will connect to. So I already have 1 bead, 2 beads. So I need to pick up 2 more beads so that I can fill in and finish my box. I'm coming out here. So to finish out my box, I need a top bead and a side bead. So I'm going to come back through this middle bead sticking up right here. I'm going to come back through it, coming towards the box I just finished. So that way now I have 2 boxes. And I need to get around so I can finish out the last box for this row. So I'm going to come through the bead I was originally exiting out of to start the box. And then I'll go through the 2 beads I added for this box. And then through this very last bead here on the end. Now, working on the last box for this row, I'm coming out of this bead here, and I have bead 1 and bead 2 for the final box of this row. 2 beads, so I need to pick up 2 more beads to finish off my box. I'm coming out here, so I need a side bead and a top bead to finish out the box. So I'm going to come right down through my bead number 2 for the box. Going towards the beadwork, so that way it finishes out, and I have 2 rows of 3 now. Got to finish my last row here on this side. So to get into position, I need to be coming out of this bead here. So I'm simply going to come through the first bead that I was originally coming out of to start the box. And then through the 2 beads that I added for the box. Final row. First box of this row, I have 1 bead. My box consists of 4, so I need to pick up 3 more to finish off this box. My thread is exiting towards the beadwork, so I'm going to come back through that same bead that I'm exiting to make a circle. To get into position for my next box, I need to be coming out of this bead right here. So I'm going to go through the very first bead I added for that circle. My next box now has 2 beads. So I need to pick up 2 more beads to finish out the box. I need a top bead and I need a side bead. So I'm going to take the 2 beads I just picked up and I'm going to come back through the middle bead here, going back towards the first box. To get into position for my last box, I'm going to need to come through the bead I was originally coming out of to start the box, the 2 beads that I added for this box, and then the last bead here on the end. So I'm going to come through 1, the 2 that I added, and then through the last bead here on the end. My final box already has 2 beads. I need a side bead and a top bead, so I need to pick up 2 more beads. I'm going to take the needle and I'm going to come down through, going towards the beadwork, towards the beads here. And so now I have 1, 2, 3 rows, and each row consists of 3 boxes. So now I have 9 boxes to do the top of my ring with. I always like to do the top of the ring when we use the 4mm bicones. I like to do that in a 2 needle technique. So I'm going to do a couple of knots, and as one viewer was nicely comment that these are called half hitch knots, and I did know that. I just don't like to throw a lot of technical lingo out there for everybody. So I'm going to throw in a couple of knots here. And another good thing about doing this in 2 separate sections is doing the top and then doing the bottom, is that if you mess up something on the top, then you don't have to completely take everything out, or if the top breaks, you know, if something breaks, you don't have to completely redo the ring. So that's a good thing. But I'm stitching through a few of my beads and just doing a few knots, and then I'll take a good pair of cutters and I'm going to cut that thread. Now I've left enough fire line on my needles so that I can actually use the same piece of fire line, but I'm going to put a needle on each end now. Over to the side, I've laid out how I want the beads to look on top of my base, and you can do this too if it helps you, but to get started, what I'll do is I'll take 1 needle and I'm going to go through one of the very end beads here, and then I'm going to put the 2 needles together and just kind of center the needles on the base. And I'll start here at the bottom, and I'll pick up 1 bicone on each needle. Then on 1 needle, I'm going to pick up 1 seed bead, pull it down off my needle just a little bit, and then take the other needle and go the other way through it. So I'm going opposite ways, and I'm going to pull so that when I pull it down, it makes a little A or V shape or whatever. I'm going to pick up 2 more bicones, and this time, see, it's going to lay over our base like this. So I'm going to cross my needles. I'm coming out here. I'm going to cross my needles opposite ways to the very next round bead there in the circle. So that when you pull, now you have your first box. Ready to do the second box, so I'm going to pick up 1 bicone on each needle. Then I'll pick up 1 seed bead on 1 needle. I'm going to pull it off the needle just a little bit, and then I'll take the other needle and come back through it the opposite way so that I'm making an X shape through it, and pull. Then 1 bicone on each needle, and I'm going to come to the very next round bead here, and I'm going to cross my needles opposite ways through that 1 bead. So that now I have 2 embellishments. So now I'm working on my final box for this side. So I'm going to pick up 1 bicone on each needle, and then I'm going to pick up 1 seed bead. I'm going to pull it off the needle just a little, and then I'll take my other needle and cross through it so that they're going opposite ways. Now 1 bicone on each needle, and then I'll take and I'm going to cross through my very last bead here on the end, opposite way. So one will go through one way, and then I'll take the other needle and come through it the other way. So that now I have 3 embellishment boxes here on top. I need to get into position for my next row by coming to this box right here. So the needle that is coming out towards the boxes and the beadwork, let me zoom in here so you can see a little better. I'm going to take and I'm going to come down through one bead on the back, through this bottom bead of that top box, up through the side bead here of that box, and then through the top bead. Because what we have to do is both needles have to be coming out of that one bead opposite ways. So this one is complete. Now I have to take the other needle. I'm going to come through the same box. I'm going to come down through one bead, through the bottom bead of that top box there, through the side bead, and then through that top bead, that middle top bead, so that now when I pull it, both threads are coming out opposite ways of the same bead here in the center. So now I'm going to work down the row, 1 bicone on each needle, and then I'm going to pick up 1 seed bead and cross my needles opposite ways through the 1 seed bead, bicone on each needle, and then I'm going to cross my needles opposite ways through the next round bead in that row. So through that one, and then through this way. Ready for the next box. I'm going to pick up 1 bicone on each needle, and then I'm going to pick up 1 seed bead and cross my needles opposite ways through the 1 seed bead. I'm going to pick up 1 bicone on each needle, and then I'll cross my needles opposite ways through the next round bead in the circle. And now I need to work on the final box for this row. So I'm going to pick up a bicone on each needle, and then pick up 1 seed bead and cross opposite ways through that 1 seed bead, and then bicone on each needle, and I'm going to cross opposite ways through the last bead in this row. Now, I've done quite a few of these rings while I'm finishing this little step. For mother's rings, they work really great. You know, the big popularity for the last couple of years has been the mother's bracelets. Well, these make a great mother's ring because you can put all the children, grandchildren, you know, birthstones, whatever you want in the ring. And they also make great school color rings because, you know, most schools have 2 colors, so they work really great for those too. Now, I need to get into position for my final row. So I'm going to flip it over so you can see. So I'm going to take the needle that's coming out on this side. I'm going to come down through the side bead, through the bottom bead of that top box, up through the side bead, and then through the top bead of the box. Now I'll take the other needle. It's coming out here. So I'm going to come down through the side bead, through the bottom bead of that box. And when you get to this point, it may take just a little bit of maneuvering to get through. And just be careful not to get any thread caught. Okay, then through the side bead of the next box, and then through the top bead. So now I'm into position to start my last row. So again, same as the last 2 rows, 1 bicone on each needle, and then I'll pick up 1 seed bead and cross my needles opposite ways through the 1 seed bead, 1 bicone on each needle. Then I'm going to cross my needles opposite ways through the next round bead here. One bicone on each needle. And then I'll pick up 1 seed bead and cross opposite ways through the 1 seed bead. One bicone on each needle. And then I'll cross my needles opposite ways to the next round bead. And then for the last box, 1 bicone on each needle, 1 seed bead on 1 needle, and I'm going to cross opposite ways through the 1 seed bead. And then 1 bicone on each needle. And I'm going to cross through the last bead here at the top, opposite ways, just like I normally would. And now you have the top of your box completed, or the top of your ring. Now if you want to, if you don't like this big of a ring, you can always drop it down and just do 4 boxes for a ring. 4 boxes also make a cute little dangly earring too. So completely up to you guys, whatever you want to do. But now we have to start the band. Now, what I like to do is I don't like to attach the band to the same, with the same thread that I use for the top, because that way if the band breaks, you won't have to redo the top. You can just redo the band. Also, a lot of my customers like stretchy bands, and anything that I make to sell for most of my customers, unless they have a specific size they want, I make a stretchy band because it sells a lot faster. So I use a product called Opalon, which is a fiber stretch. It's O-P-A-L-O-N, Opalon, and a really great product. We sell it at our store. It's like $2.95 or $3.95, I believe, for a huge roll of it. So it's really, really good. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to take one of my needles and stitch around to the other side and tie these 2 threads off so that I can start my band here at each of these. So let me do that and get my Opalon, and I will show you how to do a band. Okay, so I ran and grabbed my Opalon for you, and I apologize. I think I spelled it O-P-A. It's O-P-E-L-O-N. But this is a great product. It is a fiber stretch. It's not a plastic stretch, so you get a much more natural feel to it. So it's a really great product that the Beadsmith Company comes out with. But if you choose to do the Opalon or the stretchy band, you're going to need to use some big eye needles and 1 needle on each end. And what I'm going to do, you need to decide whether you want your band, you know, especially if you're doing some different colors, which way you want your band to start. I'm actually going to start my band here on each side. So I'm going to take one needle and I'm going to stick it through the middle bead here of that side. And you want to pull it through and make sure you get it good and centered. Now also, when I do the band, if you use the stretch, you'll want to bump up to a size 8 seed bead, because if not, you are just going to hurt your fingers like everything trying to use the big eye needles with them size 11s. Otherwise, if you were just going to use the same fire line that you use for the top, you'll need to stitch around so you have a needle coming out of each side of the bead, and you can use your size 11s. Completely up to you. However, alright, so each needle I'm going to pick up 2 size 8 seed beads, and I'm going to let those drop. And then on one needle I'm going to pick up 2 size 8 seed beads. I'm going to pull them down off of the needle just a little bit, and then take the other needle and cross through. Now, FYI, save yourself a lot of grief, and never cross through a bead when you have it still on a big eye needle, or believe me, at some point you will stick the needle through the eye of the needle, and when you pull it through, you're going to have a big mess, and you're just going to lose your religion over it. So, no fun. But there's my first box, so I'm just going to continue. 2 beads on each needle. Let those drop. And this will be the same way if you're using the size 11s. So, 2 beads on one needle. Slide them down just a little bit, and then take the other needle and cross opposite ways through them. And you're going to continue in this pattern till you reach the length that you want the ring to be. Now, especially if you're going to be doing stretchy, if you're making it for yourself, be sure and make it a little snug. You know, it will stretch, so you don't have to worry about that. But just make it to the length that you need it. Once you've reached the length of your band, finish by picking up 2 seed beads on each needle. Then, we are exiting, or we started our band here. We're going to come up to the opposite top, and we're going to cross our needle through this bead here, the middle one at the top. Now, I'm only going to do this with one needle. So I'm going to take the needle and I'm going to come right through that one bead there. Like so. Now, I'm going to take the 2 needles, and instead of crossing the other one through, I'm actually going to tie the 2 pieces together. And when you do this, be careful not to get your seed beads caught up in the knot. The reason I do this, and I don't cross them through, is because number one, if you cross through, then you have to worry about getting the other needle back through your beads, getting them back through to tie your knot. Here, you still get the look of being crossed through, and your needles are already exiting out next to each other, so you can go ahead and tie those 2 off and be done with it. There's no need to reinforce with a stretchy band, because if you reinforce and you trim it and you pull it, those threads are going to pull out, so it doesn't look good. But I normally put about 3 or 4 really good knots in there. I have OCD when it comes to my knots, so I always make sure I put plenty in there. And then once you get them in there, then you can trim the ends. And if you'd like, you can put a little dab of glue on the knot, and then you have a beautiful new ring. So as you can see, this is a fun ring to do. You have a lot of color options, and it's not very hard at all. Be sure to stop in next week, as I'm going to show you again, like I mentioned, how to do the base in a 2 needle technique. Hey guys, I hope you enjoyed the video for today. I just wanted to let you know the ring that I have on is a ring that I'm going to be doing a video on in June. So you're going to need a special ring base. This is made out of a ring base and what we call a shower part, because it looks like the head of a shower. But you're going to need this to do the ring with. So if you don't have any of these in your stash, which most people don't, you can go to either our website or our Etsy page to go ahead and order your ring base, so that way you'll have it and you'll be able to do this really fun ring. Tons of color options. I wear it all the time. This is my favorite ring to wear right now. Also, the bracelet I have on was a gift. The kit was a gift from my mother-in-law for Christmas. She purchased it from the Crystal Creations Institute in Florida. So that answers your questions for anything that I have on. Be sure and become our fan on Facebook, and I hope you guys have a fantastic day, and we'll see you again next week.